Hosea chapter 4. Yesterday, when we finished chapter 3, we spoke about a future prophecy. And now when we come to chapter 4, this brings a different perspective to our view. We are shifted to where they are now. And again, I remind all of us that we remember that whenever it talks about Israel, like here, children of Israel, this is talking about the northern kingdom. So we shouldn't confuse ourselves with the entire Israel, but this is specifically the northern kingdom. If you remember a little bit about the northern kingdom, it would be at the time after Solomon, and the nation was split into two. 10 tribes were placed in the northern kingdom. The capital was in Samaria, and it is in the tribal land of Ephraim. And so another word that represents the northern kingdom is also Ephraim. And we will see this sometime later. And so this is a very important chapter because it is one of those chapters that God is now very clearly telling the children of Israel, the northern kingdom, what he has against them. And so it says here, and the word here is a very commonly used word across the Bible. Here in the English is also to hear. And we pick up the sounds with our ears, and we will understand what is said, and then we should be doing something about it. And that is this word here. And it is Shama. And so we need to be very aware that this word is common all across the Bible when it tells us to hear, ye O Israel. Hear the word of the Lord. They are all instructions to tell us to pay attention to what God has said. Now, in terms of the word right here, right? It is davar. Davar basically means an arrangement of letters, that it is now laid out in a way where we can understand. So it's called a word. So the English word is a W-O-R-D. So the Hebrew meaning would be it is a series of letters, W-O-R-D, laid out in a sequence that gives us meaning. And that's what davar is. It means word, it means meaning, it means thoughts, but it is literally laying it out so that you can see. And so it says, hear these words of the Lord. And it's important because it's not just anyone speaking. It is Jehovah who is speaking, and it is directed to these people, the children of Israel. For the Lord has brought a charge. Now this word charge is a dispute, right? God is not happy with this. God is bringing, lack of a better word, okay, a legal case. In our modern day, the Lord is suing you. That is the kind of idea. So God is laying out all the accusations, all the charges of what they have done when they broke the law of God. And so this is the charge against the inhabitants of the land. And the rest of it is a detailed explanation of what God is bringing to their attention. And it's laid down as a dispute that God is disagreeing with their actions. And so this is about the inhabitants of the land, which means that the children of Israel is still living in the land. This is at a time before they were forcibly removed. So yesterday in chapter 3, we saw that they will be turn away, and then they will turn back. So we have not seen the turning back, but we have seen the turn away. Now in chapter 4, as we begin, this is what God is saying to them. Now, one of the things when we read the Old Testament is that you may think that it's a lot of things said about children of Israel, the children of Judah. There's a lot of things that God is complaining about them. Although it is in a historical setting, it will be beneficial for us when we read texts like this, is to, first of all, feel how God feels. Number 2, feel how the children of Israel may feel. And number 3, we should pay attention to what is God's heart in the matter. Otherwise, we will waste our time studying the Old Testament. If everything we want to know is the historical facts, well, you can read any book. But when we study the Old Testament, we really want to capture the heart of God, to pay attention to who God is, to know God from how He do things, from how He say things, and from how He executes His judgment. And what is His heart in the matter? What does He desire? And hence, when we now, in the 21st century, read the text called the Word of the Lord, right here, we should now be able to say, well, that's what God really doesn't like. And so when we read this, we shouldn't be doing this. If God didn't like and was angry with the children of Israel, well, God will be angry with us too if we do the same thing. And now, we may not be in the land of Israel, but God's intentions and desires have never changed. Why? Because the character of God is just. The character and the desire of God is for us to walk in the ways that He has laid out for us or for them. And we want to see the heart of God and the character of God from the angle of love, justice, mercy, and so on and so forth. And that's where we learn more about God. So let us do this. Chapter 4, the second part of verse 1 goes all the way down. There is no truth or mercy or knowledge of God in the land. So you notice a few things: truth, mercy, and knowledge of God in the land. And this would be the land of Israel. And notice the northern part. But it's still part of the promised land. There is no truth. What is truth? Trustworthiness. There is no mercy. Well, this means loyalty, right? Loyalty, well, translate is mercy. It would be a form of kindness. And this has to do with how judgments is executed, which means that these people cannot be trusted. They don't hold on to the truth of God. These people have no mercy. They have no loyalty to their own brethren. They don't exhibit kindness when they deal with them. Knowledge. Knowledge is to know God, right? Knowledge is a result of experiencing and discovering God. So knowledge doesn't suddenly come. Knowledge is developed when we live with God, when we obey God, when we see how God works, and then we develop the knowledge of God. And it says the knowledge of God is not there in the land. Notice the word no. There's no knowledge of God in the land. How can that be? These are the children of Israel. But they are away from the time of Moses, away from the time of David, away from the time of Solomon, way down, way further down in the many, many generations from there. Now, you remember when we were dealing with the book of Deuteronomy, it always say, keep the word of God and to do them. Keep the word and to do them. And the intent of keeping the word is not about the doing, it's about the guarding. It's about the understanding, and that we pass it down to the next generation, and the next generation will do the same of keeping the word of God to the next generation. But somehow, somewhere along the line, when it came from David to Solomon and then onwards, people started to forget. And when people forget the word of the Lord, they not only forget for themselves to do it, but they forget to keep it, to pass it down to the next generation. And hence, when the forefathers started to worship other gods or forget about God, then this happens. There is no truth, no mercy, no knowledge in the land. And it's depicted across the board. Now, it may not be everyone in the land, but enough of them for God to say that it does not exist. Verse 2. By swearing, swearing means you make a vow to God and say it 7 times. As the Lord lives, I will do this. And then this word here, lying, to be deceitful, okay? And then to kill, to cause people to die, to murder, thou shalt not kill. They are doing it. All the things that God didn't want them to do, they do. Stealing. Stealing means to take away the ownership from somebody else. Committing adultery. Committing adultery is also a form of taking ownership of somebody's wife, somebody's woman. And of course, from a different dimension, God will look at committing adultery as serving other gods. And so these two go hand in hand. And this is what they're doing. They break all restraint. What is break all restraint? Well, in this case, this is the key word, is to break up into pieces, to burst apart, right? That's what it means, to burst apart. And that is to depict their behavior. And it's a negative behavior. And what did they do when they did that? They burst apart and they did bloodshed. They spilled blood. And that means they kill each other. Therefore, the land will mourn. What is to mourn? It will lament. He will cry, right? The land will mourn. Not the people will mourn. The people are doing all this, but the land, he will lament. Lament comes from the word lamentations. Lament comes from the name of Noah's father, right? Lamech. And that is what it means by lament. This to abaul, to cry, to mourn. Sorry, not Noah's father. This really comes from a word to mourn when somebody dies. Okay? And the land will mourn. And everyone who sits there will waste away. And the word waste away means to be weak. Okay? To be weak, to droop, to be feeble, to do nothing. That would be a good word to say. Everyone there will do nothing. With the beasts of the field, with the birds of the air, even the fish of the sea, right? What's going to happen? They will be gathered. Taken away is gathered and removed. And in this case, it signifies perish. So everything around there will die. That's what God is saying. Verse 4. Now, let no man contend. What is to contend? To strive. To strive is to fight with each other, to quarrel, right? This is a sad case. It's so troublesome, right? Let them not contend. They should not be judging others. Rebuke here, right? Judge another. To reprove, to chasten, to correct another. For your people are like those who contend with the priests. When you quarrel with the priests, you're just like them. Okay? Therefore, you shall stumble in the day. The word stumble here is to stagger. Cannot walk straight, right? As if they were drunk, right? They cannot walk straight in the day. Even when you can see, you can't walk properly. The prophet, this is you, the prophet shall stumble. Stumble means to strip, to trip and fall down. And it's the same word. Stagger, to fall down with you in the night. So day and night, everybody is kalam kabut, right? And I will destroy your mother. This word destroy may not exactly be that way. It would mean to be silent. It does have a meaning to cut or to kill, to perish. But the whole idea here is there will be no people to give birth because it is so confused environment. My people are destroyed. The word destroy is the same, right? The same here. Destroy, silent. My people are silenced for the lack of knowledge. What is the lack of knowledge? Well, the lack would be not just short of knowledge, it is the failure of knowledge. Okay, this is important to understand. This is the outflowing where it comes to nothing. It has no, how should we say, no effect. Whatever you know has come to no effect. Okay, that would be the right word to mean lack. Lack of knowledge. Not to say you have no knowledge, but the knowledge itself has no effect, no ability. It doesn't help you. Why? Because you have despised. So the word rejected here is despised. We've learned from Malachi as well. Despise is very important. This word means to cast away, to refuse, right? To reject knowledge, to spurn. It says, I don't want this. I don't want to know God. That would be to reject knowledge. And then God says, I will also do the same to you. I will reject you from being priests for me because you have forgotten. And this is literally to forget, to ignore, to forget, to ignore, right? To misplace the Torah of your God. You see how God is so angry with them? Even the priests forget what to do with the Torah. Then I will also forget your children. I hope you begin to see how angry God was. Verse 7. The more they increase, they grow to a larger number, They sin against me. They miss the law. What does it mean, miss the law? If the law says it means to shoot straight, oh, they missed the bull's eye. They missed what about the law? They missed about doing this for God, such that they changed the glory into shame. And this is dishonor. Disgrace. This is really a bad negative word. They changed their splendor, their honor. What else do we use the word? Their dignity into disgrace. They eat up the sin of my people. Now understand, all of these are with regards to the priests. They eat up the sin of my people. They set their heart on their iniquity. All of these are doing wrong against God. And it shall be like people, like priests. It's very similar to our English idiom, like father, like son. Like people, like priests. What does it mean? Same idea. When the people are bad, the priests also turn bad. So I will punish them. I will punish them. And this is important, that God will attend to them. God will, repay them for their ways and reward them. So the word in verse 9 is reward, is to return. Right? Attend to them, repay them for their deeds. So this is no good, this is no good. And God is going to, it's like saying the same thing twice, right? I will punish them, and I will reward them for their deeds. Literally, God is going to judge them. Verse 10, for they shall eat but not have enough. They shall commit harlotry but not increase, because they have ceased obeying the Lord. Verse 10, they have ceased. And the word cease here is to forsake, to keep the Lord. Forsake, abandon, right? So what did they do? They shall eat but not have enough. We know that. Literally, when you eat, you're not full, right? You're not full. You will not be not satisfied. You'll be not satisfied. They shall commit harlotry but not increase. No children, because they have abandoned keeping the Lord. They have not protected or guarded God. Does God need to be guarded? Well, the ways of God has to be guarded. And by guarding the ways of God, or the Torah of God, you are guarding and keeping and making sure that people remember who God is. But they didn't, right? They didn't. Now in verse 11, it says, harlotry, wine, and the new wine, take heart. All these are different kinds of wine, right? The new wine literally means fresh wine. Okay? This is fresh. And then wine here would be the old wine. Okay? Old wine is used for drinking. Old wine can easily intoxicate. Harlotry, wine, and new wine enslave the heart. So all of this will take the heart. And this word would be And slave would be to take hold, seize. Okay? And the reason that God knows this is because God has seen them. They commit harlotry, they are into the emotions, the wine is intoxicating, it takes hold of their heart. My people ask counsel from who? Wooden idols. And this wooden idols literally means the tree. Right? So when you read the Bible, green tree they worship, yeah? And their staff informs them. Their staff is the diviner's rod. And these are all very pagan way of doing things. That if you want to look for counsel, they take a rod and say, this is what the God is saying. So that is divining rod. And the spirit of harlotry has caused them to stray. They are longing for something new. And when they stray, they play the harlot against their God. And who is the God? Jehovah. And so the children of Israel, my people, are the ones who have gone away because of all these things. They offer sacrifice on the mountaintops, the high places are literally altars that are placed on the hills, on top of mountains. So they offer sacrifices there, burn incense on the hills, under oaks, poplars, and terebinth. These are all big trees, because their shade is good. Therefore, your daughters commit harlotry, and your brides commit adultery. You can see the difference here. In verse 13, the daughter is bet. The daughters is bite, right? Bite. But. The sons are Ben, the daughters is but. But your brides, when it says about brides here, it's called kala. And these are all women married. So if women who are married, they commit adultery. Daughters who are not married commit harlotry. These are all talking about the same thing, that they have given themselves to other men. That's what verse 13 is all about. Verse 14, I will not punish. And the word punish here is the same as attend to. It means attend to. God will not ask them to account for themselves when they commit harlotry, nor your brides when they commit adultery. For the men themselves go apart with harlots and offer sacrifice with a ritual harlot. These are what they call pagan ritual prostitutes. Therefore, people who do not understand will be trampled. And the word trample means to throw down, to be overthrown. And so these are people who don't understand. And one thing that you find about God in here is that nobody is innocent when you have done something wrong. You cannot plead that I don't know, I don't understand, I just follow along. And this is one thing we should understand about God. God doesn't, when God gave us free will to learn, to think for ourselves, to do things, we never think too much about it until it comes to God. Then we say, oh God, I don't know. But when we eat something wrong, we have diarrhea. We are responsible for ourselves. You cannot say, hey, I didn't know what happened. But, well, diarrhea is going to happen. Same thing before God. When we do something wrong, whether we know it, don't know it, if it's wrong because God is a fair God and a just God. Verse 15. Though you, Israel, play the harlot, and notice this is the northern, let not Judah offend. What is offend? It means to do wrong. And this is against God. Because when they play the harlot, they have already sinned. Judah should not do this. So God says, do not come to Gilgal, nor go up to Beth Avet, nor swear an oath saying, as the Lord lives. You must know an oath or swear, right? The word swear is to say this 7 times. So it says, this is about Judah now, right? God has said everything about the northern kingdom. The southern kingdom says, don't follow them. Don't come out there and see what they do. Okay? Don't mimic the northern kingdom. And so now we look at verse 16. For Israel is stubborn. What is stubborn? Basically, very rebellious. And this is intentional. This is very important. When God says Israel is stubborn, it is not that they accidentally did something wrong to God. They intentionally went to play the harlot and worship other gods. That is what it means by stubborn here. So the English gives us a very weird meaning, that it has not important, but it is very important. And it says he is like a very like a stubborn calf. This would be I guess you call it a young cow, a young cow who wants to do things its way. And so this word here is likened to this calf. That Israel is like this calf, very rebellious. Now the Lord will let them forage, means go to the pasture and eat. Like a lamb in open country, right? In the wide place. This is a great grazing ground. So the Lord is going to let them free. You see, when Israel is stubborn, the natural thing to do is to hold them back. And so God says, he is like a stubborn calf, kicking here and there, wants to go here, go there. And I think it's like, sometimes our little children, when they come out and they see toys, they really pull you and wants to go and see that. Well, that in itself, you look at Israel, is like that. God says he's very rebellious. You tell him not to go, he wants to go. He's like this stubborn heifer, calf. And so now the Lord will let them eat. You want to go? Go. You want to eat there? Eat. That's what verse 16 is all about. God is saying, I don't care. Verse 17. You see the word Ephraim? I had mentioned to you when we were doing verse 1. This is the northern kingdom. Ephraim is joined to the idols. What does join mean? Join is to join, to glue together. To glue together. They're joined, they're united, they're in league, they're allies, allied. They are now friends. Okay. Uh, and that they are glued together in one part now. And so God says, let him be alone. Their drink. Now this is now a more a poetic way. They drink, what they drink is rebellion. And rebellion is to turn aside. Now you may be wondering, well, there is rebellion, here is rebellion. Why is it stubborn? Here is stubborn, here is rebellion. Well, in this case, it's about turning aside. In this case, stubborn means rebellious. So it is difficult for me to point out to you, mainly because the English word has translated into a certain way. So I'm giving you the Hebrew meaning. So what they drink is that they just want to turn aside. That's how they feel in a natural way, right? They commit harlotry continually. What does continually? Continually means uh, they are doing it all the time. Okay, I think the word continually may not be important here. I don't think it's there. Let's see, it's not there. It's not there in the Hebrew. It says their drink is to turn aside and they commit adultery. And I think the word continually is not there. You just added in. Her rulers dearly love dishonor. And the word rulers also doesn't appear. It's about the people, right? The people is loving dishonor, and they are also insolent. And so when he says rulers, the shields, I think that's what it means here. The shield, the one who protects them, they are also loving dishonor. They give themselves to dishonor, which means that all this here in verse 18, they're all negative, all bad things that God is saying. You know, your kings, your rulers, your warriors, your people, everybody has a problem. The wind, these are all very poetic, right? The wind has wrapped. Wrap means to make narrow. And so it's like tying up, tied up, right? The wind. What is wind? The wind here is spirit. The spirit has tied up in its wings. So the word spirit also means wind. Okay. And so, and here maybe it's better to use wind, has trapped in its wings, and they cannot move, right? And now, and they shall be ashamed. What is ashamed? They will be disappointed, disappointed. They will be pale. Now you notice the Hebrew word is very expressive and vivid. It gives you the imagery. So when somebody is pale, they are ashamed. They are disappointed. You know, that kind of a picture. Because of their sacrifices. Now, this word sacrifice is a generic word to sacrifice. And basically, it tells us that God is not listening to them nor accepting them. Whatever they do, I think in chapter 4, you can see that God is literally saying, I have enough of these people. I really don't care. And that is the kind of expression and emotion. What have these people done? They've done everything that's wrong. Everything that God doesn't want them to do, they do. And when they are not happy, they don't understand why they are not happy, because they're not doing what God wants them to do. And so God is saying here, if you look at this passage here, Israel is stubborn, very rebellious, like a stubborn calf. Now the Lord will let them go out and eat like a lamb in open country. You want to eat? Go, 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 go. That is the kind of thing. Ephraim is joined to the idols, meaning what? It is not friend. The idea here is they are friend together, but they're joined as one force. They are glued together. And so God says, let him be. They always want to turn aside. They commit harlotry. They love dishonor. The wind is trapped in its wings. They're moving. They have momentum. It looks like they're not going to stop. And they will be very disappointed because they are sacrificing. If they sacrifice to God, God doesn't care. If they sacrifice to idols, the idols is nothing. But God is definitely angry. With this, we end chapter 4. Okay, we shall continue tomorrow.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.